Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific. I got a question for my viewers. Is it just me, or has anybody had difficulty with recent or new computer purchases with typing, where it's skipping letters and the space bar isn't always spacing and it seems to be going slow? I'm just wondering if anybody's having that problem. I exchanged this computer for the third time yesterday, and it's still doing the same thing. And I know it's not internet connection because I've had the other computers here. I will tell you that Toshiba's junk. I had that little Toshiba, and it's sitting in my room, and I could go get the keyboard replaced, but why? So this thing is an HP Pavilion, nice computer, but the typing is tough. It doesn't matter if you're light or hard with the fingers, it seems to skip. Very frustrating. Wanted to know if anybody had any reason that they could give me why that's happening. That compact Presario I had was unbelievable. 6 years I got out of that. $800. Now you pay more for better stuff, and the cheap stuff is cheap stuff. And this is a nice computer, but the keyboard's solid, the cabinet's solid, and the keys are nice and soft, but you go to type them and bada boom, bada bing, it still misses letters. I spend more time writing a sentence and going back and adding the vowels or the letters, and I'm like, this isn't right. So, anyways, another question I need to ask my viewers, you computer literate people. I want my viewers to tell me that when you block somebody in your Hotmail and you have nobody else in your blocked list, why are they still getting through, and what do I need to shut that down? Yes, you guessed it. Yours truly, Exhibit B, is still at it again, leaving comments like, you say my shirtless photo will not fly with God, yet you ... I'm like, guys, why is it that a woman has always got to have the last word, even when she's dead wrong? Are they mentally ill? I mean, I have a psych degree, she says, and I'm going, yeah, and you're psycho. I'm asking my viewers to help me get her out of my inbox completely and forever, because this woman has issues. She said that I've kept it going for a year, and I'm like, no, you have. You don't need to write me. You have no reason to write me. So, if anybody can tell me how to do that, that would be great. Next issue, dealing with loneliness. I've had several viewers tell me, including Maharani, saying, I have to at least write you every day. She said, this society is crap. She said, people are boring, people are dull, I can't have exciting conversation. Is it just me, or are any of my viewers noticing that our whole society, our Western cultures are just becoming zombie-like? I said there's no passion, there's this, but you just go out there and you look at what people are getting all crazy about, and it's like, really? I often wonder how much longer God's going to let this all go on. I admit, there are times when I get discouraged. I read my devotions and it talks about suffering and all the different things that can happen to us, and I just go, as if we don't have enough problems. And there are times when I struggle in my relationship with God, because I sit there and go, like David, why do all the bad guys, why do all the spoiled brats, why do the women with good looks get away with being complete, hateful, rude jerks? Why? Then David said the same thing, and he went through his own thing in the Psalms, and at the end of it, he says, but then I considered their end. Still doesn't make it easy. We tell people, well, we've got eternity. This life is temporary. Tell the body that as we go through day after endless day. Pacific wants to know. I remember when I was involved with Beth, I kept telling her, I want to get off this internet, and I really did. I hated having to type, Skype, all that. Now, yesterday I came that close. When I went to return the computer, I was dead set on saying, you know what, I'm just going to get my money refunded to my credit card and say, forget it. And I thought, yep, and then what are you going to do? It is a sad thing to admit, but I'm not alone in this. And trolls will laugh and go, ah. Well, trolls, you're on here too. So before you throw stones at glass houses, you're living in one. Why would a woman watch my videos if I'm a whack job, nut job, etc.? Because she's looking for something online as well. Not sure what, but a lot of people are on here. It's almost safe to say it seems that everybody's online. The problem comes in when you meet somebody special like Maharani and know that you can't have her because of governments and visas and requirements and everything takes big money. And the internet has allowed us to meet people that we can grow up in an American town and be shunned by virtually everybody in the community. And we get online and we find that there's people around the world that don't think we're weird. So for me to say, well, I'm going to pull the plug, I'll just use my internet for online banking, I can't do it. I've asked myself over and over, what if you found a wonderful woman here? Would you be online? I'd still do videos, but I'd be on here a lot less. When I was talking to Venus Star the other day, I said, you do know that if I come down there, we are going to do videos. And she goes, you know what? I would do that with you. I said, because you have something huge to contribute. So cool. She's got her hair done up, you know, like I would say the Rastafarians, the Rastas. I thought that would just be so cool. Whitey Mean sitting next to Ebony Her, and she and I just confidently talking about issues. As time has gone on, I want a show with somebody. I don't want to be the one-man band. I know all of my viewers appreciate me, and I appreciate you for that. But I want a sidekick. I want somebody with me. In fact, I want to do better than The View. I want us to be The View and give you The View, because you're not getting The View on ABC and a bunch of big-boobed, breast-implanted, makeup-touting bimbos. Sorry, I hate The View. I'm sick of the secular media putting it all out there that that's where it's at, and 10 things you need to know. Really? Somebody spending $3,000 on their doggy getting a spa? Okay. And who cares about downtown Manhattan? You know, everybody's standing out the window with their little, we're from Ohio, he. Okay, you got your 60 seconds of fame. You can run back and say, we were on the TV. I'm sorry. I've matured in my thinking and going, man, are you guys that lame? So, I find myself being protective. Maharani did a song and posted it on YouTube, and I wrote it and I said, oh my gosh, please don't, please don't, please don't. I said, you will get so many idiots out there. And I said, you don't like rude people. I said, you better disable your comments or just not even do this. You see, even with me, I've gotten jaded on here and I can deal with the idiots. But her? No. I don't want them downing her. I don't like that. And all of a sudden my protective senses come in and go, if I had a daughter, would I want her on YouTube? And my answer is, heck no. I was watching some little news bit, a black girl who's 10 years old lied about her age, started getting involved with males, I'm not sure the age, online. Her dad found out, made her wear a pink shirt, said on the back, I'm a 5th grader. On the front, I'm 10 years old, made her put pink curlers in her hair, pink slippers on, facing the wall, and he took a picture of her and posted it all over her social media. Basically saying, and he wrote a comment, yes, guys, she is only 10 years old. Young ladies today are learning a lot of stuff that we don't need them to learn. It is the adult society and their illicit, wrong behavior, pathetic examples, doing the things they do is telling these kids that it's okay. And now we have little girls trying to be sensual. And that's disturbing even to my senses. Anybody remember JonBenet Ramsey? The little princess queen that her parents in Boulder murdered? Yes, I said that. I believe they murdered her. It is my express opinion they murdered her. And who knows why? But to do what they did to that little girl and make her such a narcissistic, even sensualized little girl, I'm like, what is going through people's minds? But then I ask that every day driving a simple school bus route. What's going through some fool's mind when it's bumper-to-bumper traffic and some idiot's going 80 and weaving in and out and almost hitting everybody? What is going through their mind? What is going through a mind of a woman in a Suburban that pulls around the corner and blocks the whole intersection and looks at me when I was already there and I'm going, okay, nobody can go. What are you going to do now, sweetheart? People have lost their minds. I was talking to my friend in Florida. He says, have you ever taken an IQ test? I said, no. He says, get online and do it. I'll have to look into that. He said he did it, and he said that he was, I forgot what his status was, gifted. He said, I notice when I get out there, people really are dumb. And I said, dude, I don't even have an IQ test, and I see that every day. People with suits and ties, people doing stuff. I was downtown one day, and a black guy with his punk going on his new Cadillac with his temp tags literally pulls over to the right and then cuts in front of me. I laid on the horn. There's a traffic cop, a Denver PD standing there. He looks at the car, doesn't see a license plate, and he's just like, oh boy, there's nothing he can do. He's on foot and the car speeds away. And I'm like, no fear of the cop even standing there. Welcome to the United States of America. Yes, I find people interesting, especially people with psychological degrees, and I sit there and analyze this and I go, it's funny. Pacific looks at things and I just watch people and the way they act and I go, they're not healthy. They're not healthy. And people said that at me and I said, actually, I think I'm pretty healthy because I admit I've got problems. Why do trolls proliferate? Why do they keep going and going and going? That's a good question. I can't totally answer that. In the case of women, I think that they honestly think that by their so-called reasoning, they think they're going to win the war. I would love to be a military commander because I'm one that says we're going to shut down the enemy. There are times when in my flesh I think, there are times, and I'm not going to say anything because that could get me in trouble, but I wouldn't because I don't feel comfortable with that. But there are times that I want to. There are people that in the past, no more, except Exhibit B, has sent stuff. And funny thing is, I was able to block them, and poof, every one of them disappeared. And there's times that you click on, you're searching for a legitimate question, you click on a site, and you go to click on it for the answer, and then it says, pay 99 cents a minute and we'll give you the answer. I'm like, really? You go to click off and it won't click off, and this thing opens and this thing's open. I call them gateway sites, and I think, oh, I'd like to send a nasty virus through their firewall and watch their computer go, I'm sorry, it's in me. I haven't done it. I don't know how to do it, and I'm not going to start because that stuff can all be tracked and traced. But the idea is pleasing. Wouldn't it be fun when somebody's dogging you and all that, you just send them something and their computer just goes zzz. Yeah, don't mess with me. That would be fun. So I'm thankful for good viewers. I'm thankful for good viewers that are honest enough to admit they felt like they were treated like they were weird, that they were different, that they were plain Jane, and they've all migrated onto YouTube and through whatever reason or means discovered or stumbled onto my channel and find a touchstone. Is that wrong? No. We live in a very dysfunctional era. Let me make that crystal clear. You go back to the 20s, you go back to the turn of the century, people were working, people were building homes. America was in its prosperity, well, prior to 1929 and after World War II. Now, we're in an era where community and neighborhood has almost completely disappeared. Where the front porches gave way to attached garage and remote control garage door openers, we saw a different face of America. People today live in their cars, they live on their phones, they live on their technological gadgets. And while they're saying TMI in the workplace, they're acting like idiots online. Interesting. People obsessing with Facebook. I still don't get the Facebook craze. I think that it is as shallow as one gets. And I am so tired of seeing notifications from the lady I walk dogs for in Australia showing the bottle of wine they bought, showing the plate of dinner they had, and showing stupid pet trick number 55 billion. I'm like, who cares? And that's what it's descended into. The IRS is looking at that stuff, by the way. They're looking at people bragging about their boats and yacht purchases. Yeah, interesting. So if anybody can tell me how to block this nitwit and get her out of here once and for all, I would be much obliged, because I just don't know what to do. I think the next step I'm ready to do is to find a way to report the email address to some site and say, this is harassing. And I have responded to it saying, you know what, you're the one that's keeping this going. You're the one that needs mental health. But I can't get it to stop coming into the inbox. She's not added to the contacts. I made sure of that. So if somebody can tell me that, that would be great. Back to loneliness. I think it's okay for us to be honest that when I have a weekend, when I was in Duluth, Minnesota in my 20s, I had people to visit. I'd go down to the D Independent. It was a laundromat down on Superior Street. Go wash my clothes, take my basket of freshly folded clothes, put them away, and I go walking. I go to the library, I go to the health food store. I was friends with the lady at the health food store. And walk along Frozen Lake Superior. Stop at Gloria's house, stop at Tina's house. Had people to yak with on the phone. I wasn't bored. It was amazing. I managed to fill up my day and go to bed at night, and Sunday I go to church, drive the church bus, and immediately after church get in the school bus and drive a charter trip. I was driving buses almost 7 days a week there for a while. But when I had a Saturday off, I used to look at coffee table books of faraway places, South Pacific Islands, put on some good classical music and sit there in a Minnesota night in my cool, cozy, historic mansion apartment, and I used to love that. And I asked myself, what did I do before the internet? That's what I did. I used to be crazed fool that loved the cold, and it'd be 35 below, the wind's whipping, the snow's covering the glass on my window and a bedroom window, and I'm like, I'm going out in that. I am bundling up, and I am going to brave the elephants. And out I'd go, and I'd walk down the Lake Superior, and that wind would be howling, and the bay's all frozen, and you'd hear that ice, just like the Arctic. You'd hear this moaning and groaning and creaking, and you're like, what is that? And it's the ice shifting. I remember one time I was dating this vivacious auburn-haired girl, and we were running around, and it was 10 below with a fierce wind chill. Well, we were young in love and chasing each other in the snow. It was bitterly cold. We're running around. Some guy even stops. You guys want to ride? I said, no, we're fine. And we're chasing each other and playing and all that. Well, finally I said, you know what? It's bitter. Let's go home. We went home laughing, got in, looked in the mirror, faces were so red, and I noticed I had frostbite at the top of my ears. I didn't have a hat on, and I was like, wow. Feels like a sunburn, and days later all that skin starts peeling off. Those were the days, man, in my 20s. I mean, we'd wrestle each other in the snow and all that. It's like, what happened? In Duluth, home of liberalism. And it was a cold place. But I actually had some warm friends, I even had a warm girlfriend. What happened? I look at people today and they're zombies. They're addicted to technology. They got to buy the next iPhone, the very next one, not content. I look at women in this country. They are not warm. They are not passionate. They're not nice. And they can't admit they're wrong. I remember dating Caroline. And even then, she would say, I'm sorry. I remember a time when women used to apologize. You know, yes, there was an era. There was an era. And I had some oddball friends. I had friends that at that time, just like now on the internet, they didn't fit in. I think of Tina. She had long, beautiful reddish hair. Not red, but reddish with blonde and some dark in it. And it wasn't dyed. And she was striking. She was quiet. She had a very serious looking face. And I talked to her. And when I used to live on Central Hillside, I used to live at 1 West 4th Street, right at the corner of Lake and 4th. You can Google it and pull it up. It used to be a green building. 2-story, used to be an old corner store. Apartment downstairs, apartment upstairs. I lived upstairs, had a view right down Lake Avenue of the Bay of Lake Superior. You could see the ships come in. It was great. One day I look out my window and I see this basketball trucking down the avenue because it's hills like San Francisco. And I just sat there and watched it. Like, yeah, somebody let go of a ball. That's awesome. They used to let go of bowling balls back in the day. And then I thought, yep, if a car comes down 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or 1st or Superior Street and that ball hits them, not cool. Somebody who let bicycle tires pumped up with the rim. They started at the top of the hill. That bicycle tire go flying down there. It hit the street because the hill's so steep. And when you come down to the cross street, because the avenues went up and down the hill, hit that cross street and that thing would get airborne. Bounce, bounce, bounce. It was fun. I used to think, wouldn't it be fun to get on a sled at the top? But you don't dare because there's traffic. But it'd be fun to get on a sled and just go whee all the way to the bottom. But I actually liked Duluth. I liked driving the bus. I loved when we had these big snowstorms. And then I meet educated women and people. And by the way, Tony is still running around in Ireland. Lucky dog. Something has changed. I'm not stupid. I just look back and I go, you know, I actually had pleasant memories. Don't get me wrong. There were times when I was alone. When I first moved to Duluth, it was a very hard town for people to warm up to you. It took a lot of time. Gloria I had met at Highland Plasma. Now that was a treat. My first job in that town was to disconnect the machine from the people, pull the needle out of them, and they would donate plasma. And, of course, we had everybody in there, people of all colors and flavors. And yet, even with all the, you know, the tough people and the guy that wore a jacket that said demon on it, 666, I remember then I was like, ooh, he's a devil worshiper. And I'm thinking inside, he's evil. Funny thing is, he turned out to be a nice guy, and a lot of people just did that as some sort of a fad. But I only worked there 7 months. I hated the job. It sucked. It was all dominated by literally feministic, hateful women. And I thought, man, this is crazy. I did a house remodel for 2 months up in Woodland, which is a prestigious part of Duluth. And I was hired by a public school teacher and his wife, who used to be the cosmetologist at Glass Block. Italian woman, long black hair, stunning. And she was high maintenance. And I always wondered, why did she choose her husband? Because her husband was so simple. He was a school teacher for elementary education, fourth graders at Lincoln Elementary, and the guy was cool. He never registered a pulse. Me, I'm like, hey, how you doing, man? I'm fine. And that was the thing about Minnesota that got me, is I was too out there for them. I'm from California, and they saw that. In fact, one guy nicknamed me. He said, hey, California. And he was being derogatory. That was in Gilbert, Minnesota. And I'm like, what's that? But when I worked for this couple, they paid me more than I was making at the plasma center. And I remember one day I was mowing the backyard. Well, there was a surface tree root. I couldn't see it. The grass was tall. And I was going around mowing the lawn, and I hit this thing. Well, the blade hit it, and thunk! Cut the mower right now. And I thought, oh. I told him what had happened. He came out and looked at it. And what shocked me is I thought, oh, he's going to explode at me. He said, yep, it bent the shaft. And I said, oh, man, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. You know, it's funny. He didn't get mad. He didn't explode. He didn't fire me. It was a total accident. But, yeah, if I'd have hired somebody and the mower had gotten busted, I would have been a little bit like, oh. A lot of people at the church told me that they were kind of liberal. That's how I met them. We went to the church. I said, really? And they said, yeah. I said, yeah, but they hired me and they paid me fair, and he didn't blow up when I accidentally busted the mower. I said, I have deep respect for those people. It is sad to say, and here's a weird dichotomy, folks. As I get older, I want Christian caring people, because the world, they're not our friend. We know that. I know these people were Christians, but they actually put their money where their faith is. They had heard through the church that I was looking for work, and they hired me to do their beautiful home that they had purchased. Scraping the molding of all the paint to reveal the oak, pulling up carpet, pulling corkboard off the wall. Somebody had put corkboard panels all over the wall. Learning how to work with texture paint, learning what Kills is. Oh yeah, the basement paint you use to get rid of the mold and mildew smell and water stains. And I look back on my life, and some of the nicest people to me were Christians. I didn't always agree with their theology. They might have been a slight bit liberal, but they were the kindest. And I find that interesting. But I went off on that rabbit trail because Duluth was a hard life for me. I mean, yeah, I dealt with some serious loneliness, and I didn't have an internet to turn to. So at night, when the wind is blowing, and I could hear it in the bathroom over that little vent on the third floor, and I would dream of faraway places and dream of, oh, I'd love to sail the South Pacific. And even that was in me then. I knew nothing about foreign women. And I would write. I would write things. I'd write letters to my family, to my grandma, in my bus on charter trips. And get home late at night, dropping off girls' basketball in Superior, Wisconsin, driving across the bridge into Duluth. And winter up there, you want to talk about lonely. At 12 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, you see the lights, and you see frozen and snow everywhere, and it's dead quiet out there, and it's just lonely. But even back then, I had a social life. I remember one time one of my lady friends called me up, and it was bitterly cold. She calls and talks to me in that sweet lilting voice. She goes, And we never went out I thought she was gorgeous. We never did anything inappropriate is what I'm saying. Never kissed her or anything. She was just a friend. One night she says, my kids are asleep. No, she wasn't married. And I was wondering if you'd like to come over and I'd give you a massage and put oil all over you. And I was like, oh. I was so tired and it was so cold, and the thought of bundling up and going out that day, and I said no. She was white. That was in my 20s. I actually had some decent friends back then. Today, at 48, in this world, girls like her, I don't know where they are. Girls like Tina, I don't know where they are. People will ask me, well, what happened to them, Pacific? Well, the woman I married for 14 years, I made a decision that when you marry somebody, all those lady friends need to go. And I took the time to either write them a letter or tell them, hey, I'm getting married, so I won't be contacting you anymore. They were very disappointed in that. But it's my belief that when you get married, you do need to cut the dock lines to other women. Need to cut the dock lines with the men. Men need to do it with women. Because you're going to go through tough time in your marriage, and the last thing you want to be doing is having some friend that's warmer to you than your wife, and you start thinking, oh my gosh, just not good policy. So I'm okay with people telling me they're alone and lonely. For as smart and as pretty as Maharani is, she has a deep struggle over there in Melbourne. And it's amazing to me. I'm not alone. And while some nitwits over here tell me I'm this, that, and the other, the confirmation I get is from other people who've watched my videos, who know my heart, that appreciate me, and I appreciate them. I don't know what has happened to this country. I don't know what has happened to people that they just make it a point of being mean and trolling. And like I said, 99% of the trolls I get on my channel are all from this country. The next batch of trolls comes out of good old Australia. I'm like, yeah, white nations. Why is that? I don't get the Chinese smarting off to me. I've even had Chinese people say, you know, I see what you're saying about Hong Kong. I would disagree with this point. And there are some Asian trolls. Make no mistake about it. I remember when I used to go into a chat room, there was a Korean chat room. Those Korean people were mean, and foul as all get out. So they exist in every culture, but it seems funny that on the social media, the trolls proliferate from this country. We all need to connect with people. It's just sad that we got to do it through this medium. I often think that if I was filthy rich, I mean beyond rich, I'd get everybody together and say, we're all going to meet somewhere. We're all just going to meet. We're going to have a big get together, and we're just going to go to some island somewhere and just sit down and meet everybody. All the people can meet the different fans and connect and get real. And while we're at it, go dip in the ocean, go enjoy some banana juice, and just live. Wouldn't that be fun? People are getting discouraged. Maharani admits, I struggle with God. Well, so do I. There's times I think that God treats us like laboratory mice. All I read about is suffering, and I'm going, God, why do you got to do that to us? And I know why. When we're doing well, we depend on Him less. When we're hurting, we cry out to Him. It's that simple. It's okay to admit that we have struggles with God. It's okay to admit that we're lonely. And regardless of what a bunch of nitwit trolls say, you can take their stuff and flush it in the toilet. They're not going to build you up. They're not going to help you. They're not going to encourage you. One of my things that I'm learning in life is that when I meet a person who is unwilling to apologize for their wrongs, to admit that they're wrong, to confess their sins that they've done against me, those people, you can disregard anything they say. they're not a credible person to go to for any advice, counsel, analysis of you. That is safe. I don't have a psych degree, but somebody who cannot back up and admit that they're wrong on anything ever, get away from them. As my uncle said about my mother, and my uncle said about Beth, and uncle said about the ex-wife 14 years, he said, Michael, what they're saying is, I'm okay, you're not okay. We talked about that. My uncle says, Michael, I've met people like that. He said, I've been in the retail business for years, and most people are full of... I was shocked at my uncle because he was so good with people, so friendly. And I said, you, of all people, should have a plethora of friends. He says, Michael, I only have a couple of people that I'll go visit down in California. He said, but I learned something in the retail business is most people are full of it. Most people can't be trusted. He said, yes, I was very good at what I did. I was very warm at what I did. But he said, I watched customers. And they'll be all nice to you. And they want you to chop down the price. And they want you to do this for them. And I've been burned so many times. And he's not bitter. The funny thing is, he gets every time I call him, he's always upbeat. He broke his arm. He's upbeat. He says, well, it's healing. 70-something years old. If I can be like that at 70, I'll be happy. But he has a good grasp on people, and I talk to him about stuff that goes on out here, and I've talked to him about the channel and different things, and he sees it. He says, we're living in different times, man. He said, everything is changing. And you wonder when the young people are going to wake up and realize that all they're doing is spinning in their own little universe, and when are they going to wake up and realize that they're going to come to the end of themselves one of these days? I liked walking to Gloria's house and having hot tea on a winter day and just sitting there talking. I liked going to Tina's and we'd give each other back massages and we just talk about life. I miss those days. That's when life just seemed so much more innocent and there was less attitude among women. Not the university girls. I noticed the university girls were... I remember one time I was riding a DTA bus in Duluth. It was the UMD Woodland bus to downtown. And I jumped on it. And every time a good-looking college girl got up, that bus was loaded with college babes. The driver was hitting the brakes, and I mean jerking the bus. And I'm thinking, I'm getting mad. I'm like, what is this guy doing? And I thought, man, if he does that when I get up, I'm going to lay into him. I'm going to say something. I got up, he came to a smooth stop. I was like, huh? I said, thank you. He says, you bet, have a good day. It didn't take me till years later I stopped and figured he drives that route every day. And he's probably had it with the attitudes of university girls. I'm not saying what he did was right. I don't do that in my bus. I've had groups that are just loathsome. I drive that bus smooth. I shut my mouth and I do my job. My viewers that have not done this don't know this, and I'm going to share this with you, and I'm going to close. You have no idea what it's like when I lived in Duluth and I pick up girls basketball with a good-looking girls basketball coach, and not one of those girls says, hey, how you doing today? Glad you're picking us up. Nothing. You talk about stoic, and they're all talking amongst each other. They're part of their little clique, and I'm just the dumb driver driving along a Minnesota night with a snow shovel stuffed behind my seat because I'm driving down roads that I could get stuck and I'll have to dig myself out. When I get them to the school, not once, thanks, you're a safe driver, nothing. It was then that my views were formed that something is wrong with women in this country. The girls that were in choral class at Central High School, the Red Choir, and music, they were nice to me. I noticed that. The girls that were into singing, the girls that were into playing instruments, they would greet me. They were nice. Even the boys that were in band were nice. And I finally formed a view that people that are into music, generally better I'll never forget when I was driving down from Central High School one day and a kid named Phil, his dad owned the McDonald's in Duluth. He just blurts out as I'm driving down the hill leaving with my busload of students, and he says, "Hey, bus driver, did you know it's okay to be gay?" I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah, our teacher told us that today." I said, "Oh, really?" He says, "What do you think about that?" I said, "I don't think a teacher should be telling students that." I was shocked. I didn't realize it, but most of the kids on that route were conservatives. And they said, "Yeah, we think that's messed up." And all this discussion ensued. And I said, I don't agree with it. Those kids respected me. So even in the middle of a dark liberal place, there were still some conservatives. Yeah, things have really changed. Last Friday, several kids kept standing up, 8th graders, and I'm going to use the word blacks. I greet them every day. I'm polite to them, and this one girl's constantly standing up. And I kept telling her, "I need you to sit down, please." Polite, in control. I finally got to the school, and I said, "I need to talk to you. You guys stay behind. We need to have a little chat." And the one kid, I said, "Hey, I've told you many times." And I said, "You've got a choice. I can let you sit in the front seat, or I can give you another chance. But if you keep standing up, I'm moving you. You won't be back here anymore." He says, "I got it." Oh, there was one white boy. He kept standing up and going like this. And I said to him, all I did was look at him. He says, "I know the rules. I screwed up. I won't do it again." I said, "You're dismissed. Thank you." Got to the black girl. I said, "You stand up constantly, and I've been very nice to you." And mind you, I had bought them all candy bars that week. Not one of them said thank you. Not one. I thought, well, we won't do that again. And I'd been giving them stuff before because they had been good. She gets this attitude because she's as tall as me. She says, "I was pulling up my pants." In the flesh, I want to say, well, maybe you ought to buy a belt and not wear sweatpants to school. But I thought, can't say that. I said, "You need to refrain from pulling up your pants standing up while I'm rolling down the road." She gave me the whole attitude, and I'm like, see, it doesn't matter. I'm nice. I'm consistently nice. And one time you have to address something with those kind of people, they're just rude. We live in a society that you're the bad guy for confronting their stupid behavior. We see that with Exhibit B. We see that with kids on the bus. We see that with women that won't back up their Tahoes, Suburbans, whatever. And I sit there and go, my gosh, I would love to go back to my 20s and go back to that time when I could get out of the bus and walk to a friend's house and just have a pleasant Saturday afternoon. So no, it's not wrong that we're all here seeking some solace with each other. Better to find encouragement that way than drowning in vice and feeling that you have no value and thinking suicidal thoughts and who knows what goes through people's minds. We need each other. Anyways, this is Pacific's thoughts on the matter. This is Pacific signing off. Happy Monday. It's supposed to snow today. The dreaded S word. Take care. Bye-bye.